I've owned 2 Jaguar F-Types. My first experience was in the rear-wheel drive 550 horsepower F-Type R that I put around 15,000 miles on. Now we have the beautiful SVR that is behind me, and we just got done putting almost $3,000 of repair into it. And that ultimately is what everyone wants to know. They hear these cars, they see these cars, they experience the performance of them, but can they afford them?
Hello everybody and welcome to Performance on Wheels. My name is Austin. My dad Todd and I make all sorts of videos on all sorts of different cars. We are huge F-Type enthusiasts here on the channel, and we have lots of different videos on all sorts of different F-Type content. If you're interested, be sure to check out our F-Type playlist up in the corner of the video right now. Be sure to hit like, hit subscribe to help support and grow this father-son journey. Without further ado, let's see what makes these F-Types so unreliable.
Austin, I think it's important to know that prior to this beautiful SVR, there was a white R that was in the garage, and that white R, it came at a time that I couldn't even pronounce Jaguar correctly because I blame it on my mom, ultimately.
Yeah,
She's
well,
the
here
one
we
that
go.
always mispronounced words, and she passed it on to me. So this Jaguar actually used to be a Jaguar, and after being ridiculed for thousands of comments, we have the pronunciation of the brand down. I have been tortured enough, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 2017 Jaguar F-Type SVR.
And off of that absolutely terrible disappointment, let's start off this video with some fantastic driving clips behind the wheel of this 575 horsepower behemoth. Wow, what a rush it is driving and being behind the wheel of these Jaguar products. That's truly what gets all of the enthusiasts hyped up. That theater-like, super high quality sound deadened interior to that exhaust. That exhaust is absolutely phenomenal. The whine like an American Hellcat from that supercharger. This thing is an absolute beast, and everybody truly does love them. But the majority of enthusiasts are scared of them because of the nameplate that is on this car, Jaguar, which is known to be one of the most unreliable manufacturers of all time. Now, over the course of the years, you've put almost 10,000 miles on this car. You put 10,000 miles on the white one you had before. Both of them had thousands of dollars worth of repairs throughout the course of time that you owned them.
Yes.
So today we're gonna go through those repairs, explain to you what it is like on the reliability side of things if you want to purchase a V8 variant of the Jaguar F-Type.
I've bought enough cars that I think it's important to just calm down for a minute. And
I'm calm.
You think about some of the stuff that you might overlook when you're excited going and looking at a new car for the first time. And some of this is like so beyond basic, but because of past experiences and just kind of being involved with the name for a while now, I think they're worth noting. And I'll even just start up front here with the DRLs, the daytime running lights on the F-Type. Make sure they're working, because holy crap, one of these OEM ones, if you're to buy one new, is about $3 grand.
Pennies.
It seems like it seems like model years like 17, 18, 19 are the ones that continually come up in conversations. And for whatever reason, model year 18 is the one that really strikes. It seems like it's being popped up a lot. So that little J in the daytime running light, just make sure that thing's illuminated, it's not dim, there's not a chunk missing. No, you cannot replace the strip. You have to replace that whole unit. There's another one I want to highlight right off the bat, Austin, and I had this on my white R, day number 1 of ownership. Came out and my jaw dropped when I saw that this quarter window trim here was completely peeled up. And on this 17 SVR, I looked for it specifically and it was loose. This is a huge common problem that the window trim does come loose on the coupes. This isn't a convertible issue. And believe it or not, that little piece of trim can set you back a couple grand as well, and it's not an easy install. It's not easy to do. The dealership's going to charge you a lot of money in labor for taking headliners out and everything. So just be aware. There are some DIY fixes. I actually put a little super glue underneath and mine is rock solid once again. So those are 2 of those items to be aware of right off the bat.
I got a third one. I got a third one.
Take it away, my friend.
You know those lights on the front? Make sure they work on the back too while you're at it, because you're going to be in the exact same situation. Couple grand for a taillight housing. I have seen quite a few F-types out there that a random one of the whole J is out. So just once again, make sure all of the lights are properly illuminated. Also, if your taillights are tinted on the Jag that you're looking at, it's very possible it might be playing some mind tricks on you on one of the lights being out. So get up nice and close to it to make sure that they're all working properly.
One thing we're a big fan of here on Performance on Wheels is that 5-liter, that AJ supercharged V8 that's been in the JLR lineup since I believe 2011, maybe 2010.
This is not a Ford motor, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, it is produced in the exact same factory as the 5-liter Coyote. However, it is entirely different. We get comments every single video of people saying that is a Ford 5-liter V8. It is not. This is a Jaguar specific motor, and overall it is actually pretty rock solid reliable. There's a few things here and there. Dad, what are they?
You really need to be cautious of those oil change intervals. You want to find a vehicle that you can see the oil change interval history. You're looking for 5,000 miles or less, although the manufacturer says like 75 or 10. It's complete hogwash. And the issue is, although they made some improvements throughout the years, this is essentially the same motor with some different improvements. The big flaw on them is that timing chain, and not specifically the timing chain. There's the little tensioner that's got a little actuator that essentially gets clogged because of dirty motor. And I'm just giving some very basic overview here.
Dirty motor, dirty oil.
Right, so that little actuator loses tension against that timing chain, and eventually that timing chain starts to slip. You'll hear a little rattle, and that's a fairly expensive job to get in and replace that timing chain.
You know what's not expensive? A $60 Carfax. If you're buying one of these cars, pull one. Make sure that oil changes were done. If they weren't, avoid it, guys. I mean, it's as simple as that. Just make sure that they were done. Typically on Carfaxes, it'll state the mileage from the manufacturer. These are like, what are these, Dad? Are these 15,000 mile interchange intervals that Jaguar recommends? Is that accurate?
I don't remember exactly what they say for the F-Type.
It's a lot.
But yeah, it's
just
like
stick
10,
to
15, 12.
Just stick to 5,000. Find a car that's had oil changes every 5,000 miles.
Sticking with oil and just fluids altogether for a minute here, Austin. So oil changes, let's just talk about price. You take this into a dealer, they're gonna charge you right around 200 bucks for an oil change, which is absolutely insane. And one of the big reasons why it's insane is people love to do the extraction method on these cars. So you stick a tube in and you suck everything out versus lifting it up and actually doing an inspection. And why that's bad, I'll get to in just a second. So anyways, just know that you can do an oil change for a lot cheaper than 200 bucks at a dealer. You can cut that price essentially in half going to an indie shop. And you can probably take another $30, $40 off that doing it yourself if properly equipped. So the reason the extraction method sucks, quite literally sucks, get it? Extraction, sucking.
I get it.
You
I
see
get
what I
it.
did there?
Yeah.
So anyways, it doesn't give you the ability to do an inspection on the underside. Yeah, it's kind of a pain in the butt to take the covers off and look at all the components. Your oil change time doubles, and obviously now you're talking about needing a lift and everything else. But the fact of the matter is that is a big part of these cars, is seeping or leaking fluid. You want to be able to do that, and I can speak from experience on this SVR that I took it in for an oil change, paid $200, got it extracted out. I did want it documented because it's still under warranty, so that's where my head's at, by the way. But when I did my own personal inspection, if you actually tuned in and are following the story, we documented this in our previous SVR video. We found a lot of stuff seeping, including the oil drain plug, because they never touched it, because it hasn't been looked at in a while. I'm actually dripping oil out of my oil drain plug, even though I just paid $200 for an oil change.
And we will be submitting a claim with Fidelity or aftermarket insurance company for transmission cooler lines. There is a little bit of wetness there. Typically, they like to see it actually leaking to a drip before considering something an actual active leak. It'll be up to their inspectors to decide if they will cover that or not, along with your bearing shaft support O-ring here as well. But we will be submitting those in, and they have a certain amount of time before they reach back to us and let us know if it's approved or declined. Car looks to be in great shape. Really nice car. Thanks for coming in. Take care.
So just know that actually having a visual inspection done to an F-Type prior to ownership as well as during your ownership is very important, because, Austin, my previous R, and this is something to note, the rear ends are known to get a clogged up drain pipe, or a drain tube, a vent tube, whatever I'm trying to say,
Yep.
Which can lead to the diff not breathing and overheating. But in addition to that, they can also experience a seep or a drip of fluid. I had that on my last one, and it was a few grand to address because you had to drop the whole cradle and the whole kit and caboodle. So
yeah, it's a big job.
it was a big job. That's why I will preach it's great to have these cars under warranty for a period of time, because you will deal with some sort of seeping or dripping, and there's all sorts of jokes about a Jaguar is not running right unless it's dripping something. So on this SVR, if you're following the story here, what ended up transpiring is an O-ring on the passenger front drive shaft was spraying a little fluid out, so I did get that covered under warranty and got that replaced. And also my transmission cooler lines were leaking fluid, and they replaced a seal in there. So without the warranty, that would have set me back around $1,400. Austin, I want you to talk a little bit about some plastic components associated with the cooling system.
Absolutely. Now, when you talk about a cooling system, I mean, just think about how coolant works, right? It's a bunch of coolant that's sitting in a reservoir. It's running through the radiator, and it's being pumped all sorts of ways through the block to keep everything cold, right? Ultimately trying to make the engine run at optimal temperature. Now, coolant is very hot. Everybody should know that knows anything about a car. It gets extremely hot. You can get some serious burns if you touch coolant. And if you've ever gotten plastic hot, you would know that it melts, actually. And what they decided to do here, for some odd reason, on this super high-end performance car, is use a bunch of plastic for piping for the cooling system. So you can expect over time that with getting hot and then cool, then hot, then cool, it's going to crack, it's going to break down. I mean, it might melt, probably not because of how thick the plastic is. I'm just saying this is a failure point on these cars. There's some stuff that runs under the supercharger. Oh, you have the opportunity to replace this with some aftermarket metal coolant hoses, if I remember correctly, or maybe they're aluminum.
Yeah, and there's two points I do want to point out specifically with cooling to look for. Your water pump.
Yeah.
Your water pumps are prone to failure.
Yes, they are.
On the F-Type. And then the biggest one to be mindful of, the biggest failure of all, is the Y-pipe that's right on top of the motor. And like Austin said, if this Y-pipe starts to drip, it actually drips onto the top of the motor, and you start getting some corrosion and other pooling and issues because of that. So the reason that Y-pipe fails is because it was a pressed together seam to begin with. So the revised, or new version, they do have some metal ones like Austin said, but they have one that is just a one piece, like form versus the two-piece that has that seam. So right on top of the motor, as you see here, you look at that Y-pipe. If it's all one solid piece, you know yours has been addressed. And if you still see that seam around the side, you know there's something to be mindful of.
If you're confident working on an engine, this is something you can take on in your own garage. I've talked to a few guys that have done it, but it does require removing that supercharger. If you do it yourself, it's going to set you back a few $100 in parts. However, if you bring it into the dealership, I would expect around a $3,000 repair to do this job just because of the amount of labor that is involved.
Sticking with the fluid theme for just a moment, we obviously in the all-wheel drive cars have not only a rear end, but we also have a front end to worry about. We have a rear diff and a front diff. Those fluids do need to be changed. I would recommend right around every 40,000 miles is the appropriate time to do that. And I was actually surprised while the car was at the dealership having some stuff done. I was like, hey, how much to change out the fluid in the rear end and the front end for me and those diffs. And I was kind of shocked. I know I could do it cheaper myself, but it was 170 bucks for the rear and 130 bucks for the front end for them to handle that. So I did go ahead and have that done. ZF 8-speed in this car, Austin. Very, very awesome transmission that is going to need a fluid change as well. There's really not much to talk about with the ZF 8-speed. You don't really need to worry about it, but you do want to make sure that as these cars are getting 10 plus years older or old, you know, 15, 14 was the first year they're out, so officially 10 years old at this point, you do want to make sure that there has been some maintenance done to that transmission, just a fluid change. Got a lot of airflow in the F-Type, so just make sure that you at least, this isn't a deal breaker by any means, but make sure you clean out those radiators. You'll get cottonwood and all sorts of dead birds and debris in there. I can almost promise you and guarantee it that it's something that is going to have to be done if you have any length of ownership. The next thing that is absolutely crucial to know, and let me calm your blood pressure here. It is pretty darn common for that check engine light to come on. And the most common reason you're going to see that check engine light on is due to the pops and bangs that the F-Type, regardless of the motor, puts out. The pops and bangs essentially can lead to some catalytic converter failure. Hey, what do you know? I just got a new catalytic converter, and this one, a couple years ago, the other side was replaced, so I have two new catalytic converters in my F-Type SVR with under 50,000 miles. Every O2 sensor has been changed as well, so just be prepared. O2 sensors and catalytic converters are not out of the question. There is some pretty good warranty on them. Don't quote me on it. Something like 8-year, 100,000 mile for the catalytic converter, and it's something similar for the O2, but fact check me on that.
We've got a P0420 catalyst bank 1 efficiency failure. We're going to get a new catalytic converter put on your right side. That is covered under your Jaguar federal warranty. We probably will get that part either Friday or Monday.
We've got a few more things to cover on the F-Type. Don't get too excited. They aren't insane by any means. We're over the big mechanical hump. However, 40,000 miles on this car is the magic number for a lot of different things.
You know what the most important thing is that I've experienced on both of mine?
Brakes.
It's the brakes. 40,000 miles on the R seems to be when it needs brakes. That was pretty much exactly when my white 15 needed brakes, and that was very similar mileage to this 17 SVR. 40,000 miles, all 4 brakes needing to be done. And what I can tell you is if you take your car in for your $200 oil change at the dealership, and that 40,000 miles comes around and they give you that nice phone call letting you know your oil change has been completed, what you're going to learn is they're going to want to charge you around $3,000 to do your brakes, and
that's a lot of money.
Might make you fall over.
Now, just be thankful in this moment that you do not have the carbon ceramic brake package, which this one is not equipped with, by the way. So if you had carbon ceramic brakes and you were all excited about $3 grand, sorry, they're over 10.
They do say they're supposed to last the life of the car, but let's not even talk about it.
Don't get any chips out of your rotors, guys. Now, these steel brakes are actually PBR brakes. They are not Brembos. They're super easy to work on, guys. 4 bolts on all 4 corners, just like your standard brake job on your 1990 Corolla. Like, same thing pretty much, except for they're a heck of a lot bigger in every way possible. So you can do these at home yourself for, what did we pay to do these last time?
We even got them cheaper than what I'm going to say, but for around $500, you can get yourself some steel rotors, some new brake pads, and you're going to be all set.
That's pretty solid. There is a link up in the corner where you can watch our video on how to replace the brakes on your Jaguar F-Type with the Steelies.
We can definitely talk about a lot more of the maintenance items in a future video, because there's a lot of good tips to cover there to give you confidence on how to work on these. And we could tell you about some of the interior items that could be addressed. But Austin, I ultimately think that we presented I'm excited to look at a new car. I want to know the real meat and potatoes of what I'm getting into. And I think we did a great job of covering that in this video.
I would have to agree with you, Dad. The main things that you need to know into going into purchasing a V8 Jag is basically make sure the oil changes were done on time and make sure that there isn't any coolant leaks.
Should we leave the cost of tires out of this?
Yeah, whatever. They're not that bad. I mean, in reality, compared to the car sitting behind us over there, these tires are not that expensive. I mean, about, I don't know, $1,500 to $2,000 a set of tires, depending on which compound you decide to go with.
There are actually cheap options, but yeah, you can get $600–700 a tire in the rear on the SBR, but yeah, anyways.
They're wide. That's going to happen with any car.
High performance.
High performance tires. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the video today here on Performance on Wheels on this Jaguar F-Type SVR. Now, we really need some help creating some content on this car, and I want to know what you guys want to see us do with this beautiful supercar. Let us know down in the comments below on what types of videos that you would like to see us do, some POV driving stuff, a full behind the wheel experience, what it's like to drive an F-Type, anything. Let us know what you guys think down in the comments below. I'm genuinely curious on what your guys' thoughts are and what you want to see us do with this amazing sports car by Jag.